To the Public Safety Committee meeting. Today is, what is today? Today's Friday, I know that. Today is Friday, June 12th, and so far we are a committee of one at this point, expecting some others, but what I'm going to go ahead and do is, and if I can ask, if you have conversations, if you want to take them outside, just because it's an echo chamber, and particularly when it's my staff. So with that, if I could, we're going to go ahead and ask and open it up for first general public comment. Do we have any general public comment? Okay, we're going to go ahead and then close general public comment for the meeting. I'm also going to ask, in the interest of time, that if there are comment cards on any specific items, we're going to go ahead and ask if, do we have any comment cards? Seeing none. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on specific items that have not yet turned in a card? Okay, then we'll go ahead and close the submission for comment cards for the agenda items since we've opened up the meeting, and close the submission for comment cards. If any comment cards should come in on the agenda items between now and the rest of the meeting, we'll go ahead and file those officially that they were received, but they were not submitted at the beginning of the meeting as required. So with that, I have a number of items that will go on consent. Since they will be a communication from the chair, we'll reopen those should we get a quorum on the specific items as well. And those will be items 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, and 12. So once again, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, and 12 will be approved as a communication from the chair and recommended to the full city council. Do we have any reports to adopt?
Yes, sir. For item 3, you have a CA report that was submitted after the publication of the agenda. Do you wish to approve that as part of your action today?
Okay, we'll go ahead and approve that as part of the action as well. And we're going to go ahead and hear items 2, 7, 8, and 9. So if you're here only on items 2, 7, 8, and 9, those are the ones we're going to hear. If you're here on any of the other items, enjoy your day.
Councilman, did you approve item 1?
Item 1, yes. Item 1 as well.
And that includes the CA report also?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take item 7 first.
Sir. Item 7, Board of Police Commissioners report relative to an agreement with Special Olympics International Incorporated for LAPD to provide 5 department vehicles, 18 reserve officers, and 18 sworn supervisors to serve as a ceremonial escort of the Flame of Hope during the Unified Relay Across America on May 26, 2015 through July 10, 2015.
Great. Thank you very much, Commander. Thank you for being here this morning, and if you can just walk us through this as well.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Commander Dennis Cotto with LAPD, currently attached to the Special Olympics Working Group. Currently, the Unified Relay Across America, it's a first-time event ever done in conjunction with the World Games this year that are coming to Los Angeles. The Olympic torch flame was brought over from Greece, landed in the United States, and it was broken into 3 different torches. So the first torch began in Maine, second torch was Washington, D.C., and the third was Florida. In conjunction with the Sheriff's Department, Chief Beck and Sheriff McDonald wanted to escort that torch from those 3 states. It's going to travel through all 50 states in a 46-day period. So 5 of our LAPD vehicles were shipped over to the East Coast, along with 5 sheriff vehicles. This is all being sponsored and underwritten by Bank of America, who has donated or generously donated this to bring the torch to the LA to open up the World Games. But this torch has been now on the relay route for about the last 7 days. It's being fully staffed by reserve officers, so it's not by on-duty LAPD officers. And they're also got some on.
Excuse me, you're disrupting the meeting, sir. If you've got an issue, take it outside. Thank you.
So we also have sergeants that will be supervising these reserves out on the route. The sheriffs are using retired deputies to drive that. It's been a very good positive image for the city. They've made their way through New York, Florida, Washington, D.C., Virginia, along the route as they escort. They're only doing ceremonial escort. The state police officers and the jurisdictions in those states are actually doing the actual road closures and any policing that has to be done on the route. So it's been a very good thing. The MOU is really about who's going to pay for the damage to the vehicle, should those vehicles get damaged through no fault of our officers or our reserves. And that is what the MOU is specifying, is that Special Olympics International will be responsible for the gas, the maintenance, and any repair on that vehicle while they're on the route for the 46 days.
Fantastic. Well, I got to say that LAPD and all the partners in this, Fire Department, Department of Transportation, the city family as a whole, has really stepped up. And in fact, it was estimated that the costs outside of, for the city investment in this, which it comes back exponentially, quite frankly, and TOT and parking and tourism and all the folks coming here, all the athletes. We've estimated the city out of pocket is about $12 million so far. I know the county put in about $2 million. We'd love for the county to match what the city's doing. But in any event, I think it's phenomenal for the region. It's great Absolutely. That you guys are doing this, and including the reserves. Really, truly appreciate that as well. And so we'll go ahead and approve this and send it on. I believe it's just a report.
Absolutely.
But we appreciate you keeping us informed and all the work you're doing on this. And
no, thank you very much.
Thank the department. All right, thank you very much. All right, so that item is approved as well. And I believe it's just a receive and file.
Very good. Item 8 is a motion in English Gregorian instructing the fire department with the assistance of the CAO and the CLA to report with recommendations for implementing a false alarm fee that would provide for cost recovery of the resources associated with responding to recurring false alarms.
Great, thank you. And we know what, we'll take 8 and 9 together, actually.
9, Board of Fire Commissioners report relative to the implementation of the fire department's unwanted fire alarm plan.
Morning, council member.
Morning, Chief. How you doing?
Good, sir. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Top of the morning to you. Thank you so much for all the work that you've been putting into this. As you know, this is an issue near and dear to my heart. The fact that, and it's unconscionable, that we actually have folks that use the 911 system, alarm system, to deploy our resources. And a lot of them have figured out, and a lot of these alarm companies have figured out that if they roll out as a medical or they roll out as a fire, they're not charged. And so a lot of unscrupulous operators, if you will, have caught on to this, and they'll roll out the fire department as opposed to the police department. So therefore, if it is, in fact, turns out to be an unwanted alarm, there's no cost as opposed to PD. And so trying to rectify that, the most important element is not only the cost to the taxpayers and the department, but the depletion of our resources, where we've got folks rolling out to these situations and many times at the same location throughout the year, and it's taking those resources offline in case of a real emergency or their inability to respond to another incident that happens to be a real incident. And so this to be used as a deterrent and get those folks in check to protect those the rest of the residents and citizens of Los Angeles, I think is a great move for us, and we're not the only department that does this. So walk us through where we're at and how this is going to play out over, I know it's going to be at various phases, and multifamily, commercial first, and so if you can go ahead and walk us through this, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Fire Marshal John Vidovich, for the record. Last year, the department responded to 422,000 emergency incidents. Of those incidents, approximately 29,000 were in the categories of automatic alarms, smoke detectors, bell ringing, and water flow alarms. Of those responses, 50% were false alarms.
So roughly 15,000.
That's correct.
15,000 calls were false alarms.
False alarms.
Wow.
In that, the Fire Commission just approved our implementation plan to begin moving towards establishing a fee and ordinance, and also outsourcing the tracking of this system. Sure, not a problem. So in regards to the component of being able to bill with my colleague.
Excuse me for 1 second. Mr. Herman, if you're going to yell out in this meeting and disrupt the meeting again, this will be the last warning you'll be asked to leave. Thank you very much. If you're disrupting this meeting, I'm not asking for feedback. Excuse me, I'm not asking for feedback. So please be silent unless you're at the table speaking. If you speak out again, you'll be asked to leave. Fair and final warning. Thank you.
So specifically into the proposed fees, working with the CAO's office, we looked at the region, and this is not new to other parts of the Los Angeles basin. Beverly Hills has a fee, Glendale Fire, Santa Monica, Culver City, and Pasadena. The majority of these jurisdictions have the first response as no charge. However, and we're looking at making our first response no charge with the caveat that you have to go to an online fire school, fire alarm school for training.
Just as we do with LAPD.
That is correct. The proactiveness that we've taken using this data is we've identified some of our high propensity first in districts where we have multiple alarms. One of the areas is LAX as an example, due to the massive construction going on.
Right. I know that was identified in the first fire stat LA meeting. I remember that well. Yeah.
So what we've done to be a little bit more proactive in that arena is working with the contractors. We've actually, every time they come through our plant check counter, we've given them a reminder flyer that when you're working in that area to notify the department so we can go offline. And some of the data is showing we still have a high number, but they're reduced slightly. Other areas of downtown, we've seen a bit of a reduction. What we've done is we recognize that a lot of the fire alarm systems haven't been tested as required on an annual basis. So we implemented a third-party vendor known as the Compliance Engine to assist us in monitoring and measuring our compliance in the Reg 4 testing. In the first 120 days of our pilot program, we've seen a 25% reduction in the number of past due notifications, and again equates to not quite a 25% reduction in unwanted or false alarms, but we're trending towards a 10% reduction, which is substantial in this arena. So as we look forward in using this technology, the incremental steps that we've done, we've identified a stakeholders group working with BOMA. We actually had a meeting with them yesterday in regards to our proposed initiation of fees, and they understand that. They rather have us be available for the real emergencies. We're working with MFC for our CAT identifiers. The one question that was asked last time is in regards to the single-family residence. The first phase is going to be to commercial high-rise and apartment buildings. The second phase would be to single-family residence. And
with commercial, that includes all retail as well. It's anything that's just not single-family.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay.
Again, the fee analysis has been prepared and will be in a supplemental report coming to the council.
And in that, and I haven't seen that yet because I know it's being worked on, but I know what we do now in LAPD is they have a higher fee if you don't have a permit. Are we going to be similar? Is it going to be a similar fee structure to what we're doing there?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about the fire department, the commercial high-rise buildings are already mandated to have a fire permit. So if in fact they don't have a permit, then we would have, a penalty associated with that.
Right.
But in regards to the actual billing for the false alarm, it's going to be incremental. As the number of responses increase, the fee would go up. However, the fire chief's goal is truly to infuse an educational component where, in essence, we've heard the term super user on the EMS side.
Right.
We're looking at super users in regards to unwanted or false alarms to infuse.
We have any data on the 15,000, like the top 10, 15, 20 locations? This is how many?
We do. We have it broken down to 2 addresses specifically. So,
okay.
In fact, you just give me.
And beyond the 2, I mean the top 10, if you will. Obviously, I know those 2. I can guess what the 2 are. You already said one of them.
In regards to actual addresses, I do not have that data.
Do we have numbers, though? The actual numbers? So
as an example, Fire Station 3, which is the Civics Center area, we average anywhere from 55 to 82 unwanted or false alarms monthly.
wow. Yeah, big numbers. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. What I'd like to do is, with this, and perhaps under FireStat LA as well, is set a metric and start measuring of the ones that are going to be or get cited. Is there a reduction in those locations once we implement? So we can measure that as we roll this out for the next year. And if we can report back to this committee, I would say at the 6-month interval on how it's doing once we initiate and what that's done to those specific locations to reduce this number. I mean, 15,000 a year, I'm going to put it up the word as criminal because when you've got resources responding to these various locations and you're taking those resources offline, you're increasing the response times to other real incidents and you're putting lives in jeopardy. Not to mention a lot of these are code 3 runs. So just getting there, you're putting lives in jeopardy and taking a higher risk. And so this will be great to get the actual information back on how it's progressing and changing.
And just to add, based on our report back to the Budget and Finance Committee during the budget hearings, our response in regards to this issue was to have a full implementation by February of next year. So as we go through the process of approving the ordinance and so forth. But everything's being worked on. The ordinance is in the process of being worked on. The RFP is in the process of being worked on. So we have a lot of things working in parallel. Obviously, if we can get that done sooner, we'll do so.
Okay. Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Notwithstanding what you just articulated in terms of the real issue of these false alarms, do you have a ballpark figure, Chief, of what the average cost of is a false alarm? I know it all depends on proximity, et cetera, but about how much do these false alarms cost on average in response to them?
In regards to an engine company rolling out and so forth?
Mm-hmm. Because that could be monetized, I would think, in terms of from the fuel usage to the staff hours, et cetera.
Right. I don't have the exact costs in front of me, sir, but I can get back to you.
That'd be interesting to find out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so we'll continue the motion while the department continues to work on the implementation plan, though, and approve the department's report to request the city attorney to draft the ordinance and establish the fee for the unwanted alarm and defining an unwanted alarm and establishing the method of calculating the unwanted alarm fee. So that'll be the action moving forward.
Very good.
Great. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thanks for all your work on this. Really appreciate it.
Your last item is item 2, communication from the mayor and CEO report relative to modifying the contract with the Los Angeles Regional Interoperable Communication System Joint Powers Authority to reduce the amount to $2,021,830 for the United States Department of Homeland Security fiscal year 2011 UASI grant award.
Good morning.
I have him here on my desk.
Ed Rose with the CIO's office.
Morning.
The report before the committee is a budget modification and contract.
Excuse me for 1 second. Mr. Chairman, you're disrupting the meeting again. If you can approach the sergeant if you want to turn a cards in. If you've got questions, you can take those outside.
He wants to speak up.
And as I said, those discussions will be taken outside, not in this room. Herman? Thank you.
Yes, the report before you is a contract authority modification for the 2011 UASI grant, more specifically as it relates to the LA RICS program. It modifies the budgeted amount of $18.2 million dedicated for build-outs of radio communications towers and facilities and Mayor's Office is requesting that the contract be modified to reflect a expenditure of $2.02 million this fiscal year, while they request a contract extension from the grantor, and that would allow the project to proceed within the grant term, which expires July 31st of 2015. And a subsequent report will be coming back from the Mayor's Office regarding the expenditure of the balance of the funds for this contractual purpose.
Okay, thank you. With that, I've got a couple questions, not specific, well, some on LMR, but also since it is related to LA-REX, also on just LA-REX in general, and but on specifically on the LMR, I don't believe there was a report attached to the actual equipment and what we'll be looking at in terms of locations and what we're doing with it. Do you know where that might be, when that might be coming?
Councilman, with respect to the LMR, there is no equipment list yet. They're still in the design phase. This money will be used for the management services and environmental studies that are still being done in preparation for developing the design, which will ultimately then identify all the equipment needed.
So one of my concerns, and I know my colleagues' concerns as well, is that this body, as well as the full council, has often through LA-REX receives the information very, very late or after the fact, where we don't have the actual equipment or locations, or specifically what they're going to be installing and how, and it's really caused significant concern. And in fact, the outreach from LA-REX has been, I'll use the word poor at best, and lacking. Is there any possibility to look at some of these funds to bring on board through LA-REX more community outreach?
LA-REX has hired individuals to work on community outreach, Councilman. As you know, one of the challenges we have as a city is we do not run the LA-REX project.
Right.
It is a separate JPA. We are administering the grant funds with respect to the LMR project, not to all the projects that LA-REX runs. So that does present challenges in terms of...
But we have representatives on that board.
We have 4 representatives out of 17, and also our police and fire departments have been trying to work very closely to ensure that the city's interests are covered in terms of design and operation of the ultimate system that is built. I agree with you, community outreach is poor, and that there needs to be more communication more directly with this council so that you are aware. I'm happy to try to facilitate that with LA-REX to the extent the council is interested, to either have them come to these meetings or meet individually with the council members and the interests in their district.
If we have the ability to do that under a separate cover from this, I would strongly suggest we go ahead and do that. So if there's a way in the next meeting or two to bring the community outreach folks from LA-REX to this committee, that would be great.
We can invite them on your behalf if you'd like.
Okay, let's go ahead and formally do that.
Yes.
That's a great suggestion. I appreciate that. Thank
Happy
you.
to facilitate that.
Great, excellent. And with that, I'd like to turn it over. No. Okay, we'll go ahead and do that, and I think that's a great recommendation. I appreciate that. And I know some of my other colleagues would be happy to participate.
I think we
in
all
this
would
discussion.
appreciate
Yes.
hearing the overall game plan and ensuring that we feel confident in the methods being used to outreach to all our communities.
Let me ask you this: what would be the who would present that formal request? Would you do it on our behalf and say that that was a recommendation?
I'm happy to. I will draft a letter
Great.
That I will forward you a copy of so that you have it for your records, so that you know we've extended a formal invitation on behalf of the city and with your permission, your committee.
I appreciate that so much. Okay, we'll go ahead and do that, and we'll move this item to council as well with recommendation. Okay.
Thank you.
And do we have any other items up?
No, sir.
We don't. We're not going to adjourn the meeting yet. We're going to go ahead and pause the meeting for a moment, because I believe we have another member on their way. We do. So we're going to go ahead and see if the other committee member actually will show up. Mr. Herman, you're disrupting the meeting. You cannot have a light on in this meeting. So if you're going to if you can video all you want, but you've got to shut the light off. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move all the items as a communication from the chair and adjourn the meeting. So with that, we'll go ahead and this meeting is adjourned.
Very good.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.